Our daughter attends preschool with a little Ukrainian girl. I was talking to her mother today. The woman speaks Ukrainian, Russian, English, Spanish that I know of. Came to Ecuador very recently looking to get refugee status. There's a lot of very smart people in Russia, but a lot of the smartest ones seem to have left. And Ukraine seemed to be outsmarting Russia. And this is asymmetrical warfare at its finest, right? You make do with what you got. Lemon's lemonade. Because you may not be as strong. Well, you really gotta rack your fucking brain how to turn a shitty situation into a less shitty one, how to gain something, how to win, if not the war, because I think both nations will lose this one. Some battles, and maybe make your enemy suffer more, unfortunately. So, you hear a lot about some gas pipeline, a nuclear power plant, bargaining chips in the form of territory or prisoners of war, inflicting a lot more damage on your enemy than vice versa, taking fewer losses while inflicting more pain, things of that nature. And frankly, taking 10 to 20,000 guys, and instead of having them bogged down fighting for every inch of territory, exchanging hands every 6 months, put them somewhere where they're not expected, and move very, very quickly, where in 8 days you take more land than Russia this whole year. Asymmetrical warfare. Lemon's lemonade. This incursion into Russia, special military operation, whatever the hell you want to call it, I am sure it has many goals. And I'm not trying to downplay any of them or be overly reductionist, but the big picture here, the thing that the Western media isn't really talking about, and Russia doesn't dare to, is bad. This is a huge dilemma for the Kremlin. And this could potentially be the beginning of the end for Russia. And I know all the Putin stooges and Russian trolls and, the people that are so far right, the people that have bashed Antifa just 3 or 4 years ago so much and have gone so far to the right, they've basically come full circle and are leftist and literally Antifa themselves. Yeah, they'll downplay this, right? They don't think for themselves. They just read a script. They just repeat what their overlords tell them. So fuck them. Who gives a shit? And again, the Russian state media doesn't dare talk about this because look at them. They're sweating balls. They're shaking. They're terrified. And the Western media is either oblivious, biding their time, or doesn't want to seem like they're complicit in this. Like it was their idea or the collective West's idea, right? They get their script from their overlords too. But make no mistake, I mean, this could not have been carried out without, at the very least, the knowledge of the United States. I mean, they have so many fucking satellites, eyes up in the sky. They saw this coming from a mile away. Didn't Victoria Nuland warn Russia or threaten them, however the fuck you want to look at this? Talking about surprises, major surprises on their border. What, like 3, 4 months ago now? These fucking Russian clowns, I mean, they've been getting so fucking high on their own farts, they believe their own goddamn propaganda. They were told this was coming, and they still got caught with their pants down. And now they're terrified because they believe their own fucking propaganda. The idiots that they are. They drew these imaginary and, in my opinion, as I told you a long time ago, non-existent red lines, thinking that that was going to somehow stop the West, let's just call it what it is, from boiling the fucking frog slowly, making small little raids into Russia, reconnaissance missions, intelligence gathering, uh, probing, prodding, poking, trying to see what the reaction would be, getting the Kremlin used to foreign boots on the ground, right? Whether it was the Freedom of Russia Legion or allegedly some Polish mercenaries and somebody else, maybe the Foreign Legion, going into Russia and kidnapping and a few policemen and maybe stealing some vehicles here and there, killing a couple of bad guys, things of that nature. That was just, well, everything I said it was. A lead up to this. And no nukes came flying at Ukraine or the West. Dublin, London, Berlin, Warsaw, no nukes. Russia got exposed as a paper fucking tiger. Now, the West did, at least ostensibly underestimate Russia, but Russia way overestimates their own capabilities. Why? Because they're scared shitless. They're fucking paranoid. While NATO was falling apart and brain dead, they were afraid. They they thought NATO was getting ready to invade Russia. I think these fucking clowns believe their own fucking propaganda. They're so fucking paranoid. I think they believe this bullshit. Why are they so fucking paranoid? Because they have the biggest land and sea, whatever the fuck, border of any country in the world, and not enough people willing or able, and or just not enough people, period, to fucking secure it. And they seem to want to make that border bigger and bigger and bigger till it completely disappears. That's ultimately the goal of any empire, right? Global dominance. Ukraine, or the West collectively, just pulled Russia's whole card. And they ain't did shit. So what now? I don't know what's going to happen with this little invasion into Russia. Seems to me like Ukrainians are digging in and they're going to make somewhat of an attempt to try to hold this land. How hard will they commit to trying to hold it? I don't know. Again, this operation no doubt had many goals. none of that is as important as the huge, potentially geopolitical ramifications that Russia may have to deal with for decades to come. Because this nuclear deterrent, I mean, yeah, it's great in asymmetrical warfare, right? But this isn't nuclear power Russia versus Ukraine. This is one nuclear power versus multiple nuclear powers, with some other nuclear powers who don't want a nuclear exchange watching. This idea that Russia was just going to use a nuke in Ukraine. Some in the West have bought their own fucking propaganda. These people might be, look, I exaggerate. Clearly, they're not stupid, but they're not as smart as they think they are. But they're definitely not insane. They're not just going to press the red button and let this shit fly, because the goal is victory. And nobody wins a nuclear exchange, a nuclear war. Everybody loses. So if it took maybe up to 20,000 men, well trained, elite, sure, but only about, I don't know, between 10 and 20,000 with good but not the best possible equipment, not much of an air force, right? If it took them a week to take 1,000 square kilometers of Russia like that, well, gee, couldn't Japan take those islands back? Maybe China could get a chunk of Manchuria back. Maybe Poland could get Kaliningrad back. Finland might want some of their own lands. I'm just saying. Just saying. Couldn't they? Now, I'm not saying that all these countries that got beef with Russia are just going to start invading Russia like that right away, especially. I'm not saying that. But I mean, slowly, over time, things of that nature might start happening. I mean, Russia is the largest country on the planet that's been stealing people's land for centuries. There's a lot of people that are part of the Federation that are not part of the Russian nation. And they got beef with Kremlin anyway. They don't like how they've been treated, suppressed, taken over, dictated to. And some of them, you know, got some type of a military, right? What's Russia gonna do? Start nuking itself? Is it? Again, I'm not saying that Japan's just gonna ask for their shit back. China's gonna ask for their shit back. Poland's gonna take that chunk of land that was theirs at one point in time. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. Definitely not right away. But I mean, who gives a shit? The most important thing here is that, well, they could, and the fact that all those paranoid fucks in Kremlin surely believe it. They've been telling you this forever. It's a projection, definitely. It's they want other people's land, and they think everybody thinks like them. Everybody doesn't, but a lot of people do. So if there's turmoil, I don't know, maybe Muslims want to stir some shit up. Oh wait, they are. Maybe Japan wants to start militarizing some of those islands. China starts building up military bases somewhere where it makes Russia nervous. Maybe Finland does the same. Start shutting down some of those Russian Orthodox churches, building up on their border. Oh wait, it's already happening. Poland starts buying all this military equipment and maybe actually finds people willing to operate it. I don't know, man. I don't know. What the fuck is Russia gonna do? I mean, they got the biggest border of any country in the world, and it's porous as fuck. Do they have enough people? Do they have enough people willing and able to secure all that fucking boundary? And they want to fight wars at the same time? I mean, they're pulling their people out of Africa just to help out with what's going on right now. They got geopolitical interests all over the world. If some semi anonymous or maybe with no real location or clear allegiance group somewhere near on the border or within Russia wants to start wrecking shop, and you can't really nuke them because you don't know where they are, and it's not really the type of weapon that you would use against them. And well, shit, you just showed that you can't. You're not willing to because you know what's going to happen, right? All of a sudden, you got many more dilemmas than you you were prepared to deal with. That's why you heard all this nuclear saber rattling, all this nuclear blackmail, which was, as I told you, just bullshit. It was all bullshit. None of it is real. It's a whole bunch of power, territory hungry, scared pieces of shit. Gambling. Trying to make everybody fearful because that's who they are. And their whole card just got pulled and they failed. What are they going to do now? Turn into a more authoritarian. They're going to move in the direction of totalitarianism. I don't know if they're able to pull it off, but they're going to have to secure all of their borders. And if no one can get in, nobody can get out. And you need some kind of pressure valve to be able to relieve the pressure. And if not, shit might explode or implode. I'm just saying. So, because of how huge Russia is there and how relatively sparsely populated it is, and how it wants to just fight all these wars all over the damn place, more and more of them and bigger ones. Yeah, maybe, I mean, they're not even really able to take over Ukraine. Where are they gonna? And now they're gonna have to worry about. They're gonna have more and more and more security risks, threats coming from all over the place, and they just don't have the manpower or the money to be able to secure their borders and carry out all these military, all these wars that they want to. I think their whole card has been pulled and they were exposed. The nuclear deterrent isn't what people thought it was. And it may take a while, but people will wake up to this and realize this. And it would not surprise me at all if there was more and more internal turmoil and shit. Maybe some other state starting shit with Russia, agitating, provoking, looking to get back what they believe is theirs. Because, well, so what if they don't have nukes and Russia has millions of them? They can't fucking use them anyway. But I think this would have to be a very gradual process where you use mostly soft power and some hard power little by little, and slowly just keep taking chunks out of Russia and imploding it from within, and stretching its power and ability to a point where it just collapses, just as the USSR did, also because of Afghanistan, right? And Russia, insofar as being a military power, ain't shit compared to USSR. So this is, look, it might take decades, but I think the ramifications of this are potentially horrendous for Russia, the Russian Federation, the Kremlin. And while this, incursion will probably ultimately be quelled, or, the Ukrainian progress frozen, and it'll just become another however many kilometers of the same old front line, trench warfare, whatever the fuck have you. While that may ultimately be stabilized and taken care of, at least to some degree, Russia will probably ultimately take back control of the region, or at the very least, keep the Ukrainians from advancing. The big picture here is really, well, long fucking story short, Russia's fucked. Yeah, Russia's fucked.